Schools all across the country have been faced with some sort of financial situation. Some schools face certain problems more than others. Due to this, it can have negative effects on students. When it comes to money for schools, it is broken down at the state and federal level. The state uses property taxes to pay for majority of school funding, and the government provides for the rest. Schools that are in less privileged areas don't get enough money from property taxes, which hurts the amount of money that schools can provide for the necessities and programs. Programs and teachers are affected when there isn't enough money to spend. Fine art classes are typically the first to go when there is money shortages. Students' mental health can also be in jeopardy with budget cuts when some students may not be able to have proper resources in schools. Budget cuts can also affect access to technology. Technology can be an important aspect to learning. If technology is managed properly, it can be used in teaching and can provide new tactics for educating students. Teachers are also affected by budget cuts because it can drive them away from these schools that are forced to pay teachers less, thus resulting in inexperienced teachers. These budget cuts can affect the quality of learning that students receive, and this can also hurt them in the future.
In the U.S., funds for fine art classes such as drama, music, film, photography, and dance have been limited or cut from school curriculum. This is a result of people viewing fine art classes as unimportant, time-consuming, or see funds can be used elsewhere. Fine art classes have proven to promote students' self-esteem, creativity, and expression. Impoverished children are affected by this the most because without fine art classes, impoverished students are less likely to develop the valuable skills that fine art classes provide. As a result, this explains why Charles L. Carney and his fellow authors strongly support the funding and implementation of drama-based prodigies, DPB. In impoverished communities, DPB is the incorporation of fine art activities in teachers' lessons. Examples of these activities are drawing, discussing, acting, dancing, and painting incorporated in lessons. With the addition of DPB in classes, this will act as a counterbalance to schools that have limited or no fine art classes. Carney and his team conducted an experiment by incorporating DPZs in preschool classes of 20 students in New Jersey City, where there was an absence of fine art classes. After the experiment, Carney and his team were shocked how data showed a compelling correlation between our DPB program and increased achievement on standardized test scores. As we see, with the implementation of DPB in less affluent schools, this made school students more engaged, allows students to better understand information, and allowed children to develop fine art skills. Thus, with the implementation of DPZs, it allows children in poverty to reach their full academic potential.
A study proves that symptoms of depression are associated with low levels of education, housing, economic, and social resources. As a result of budget cuts, we see how people have limited resources and are correlated with depression and anxiety. Another study proves that children with better social-emotional competence were found to have higher language and cognitive scores, indicating better language and cognitive abilities. This means that children with higher level education tend to have a better social-emotional skill versus children who are receiving a lower education. Children that are economically disadvantaged often begin school with fewer basic and academic social-emotional skills, and they are sent to low-performing schools where their education continues to not develop.
Let me tell you a story. A tired mother holds her young son's hand as they walk from the bus stop to their apartment near Jefferson Park. She keeps thinking of stories from her boss, whose son goes to a magnet school. Her boss keeps talking about how her son is excelling in math, language arts, and science, and is loving learning with the computers in the classrooms. The mother wishes that her son's school had such magical tools. A few weeks later, she gets an invitation from her son's school to come in for an assembly. The school received a donation of Chromebooks from a local business, but there's a catch. The school's Wi-Fi can barely support 20, let alone 50 students at a time. They are not alone. According to an article by Hammond in 2017, 70% of public K-12 students do not have sufficient broadband to allow most of their students to engage in digital learning activities at the same time. While visiting the school, she talks to a 7th grade math teacher whose students are taking an online individualized math course. The teacher is feeling frazzled because all 30 students are going at their own pace. 2 students are way ahead of the class and are essentially teaching themselves. 4 have difficulty keeping up. The teacher feels torn between making sure that they don't fall further behind and keeping the other students focused. The Madden school has teachers' aides to make sure that the students get actual attention. Her neighborhood school doesn't have the funds to hire such staff. But
Teachers are very important aspects to having a well-rounded education, and schools that experience budget cuts often have a hard time hiring experienced teachers due to the lack of money. Many teachers who are at these underfunded schools often leave due to the money issue, and according to Susan Hidden, money, or lack of it, is the primary cause of rising teacher attrition. The report concludes, teachers are leaving largely because of the lack of administrative support, poor professional development, insufficient emotional backing, and scant feedback on performance. All of these can add up and have a negative impact on the student's academic success due to the lack of support within the administration, and this can cause students to have a lower academic success rate, which can impact them in the future.